guy behind him, sat at the console, right behind the flight radar console. And he was a headquarters guy, or as Gene described him, a headquarters weenie, who knew nothing about space flight, just knew how to call me. His words, not mine. And so the guy's basic job was to just sit there, monitor the mission, and if something goes wrong, make the call. Call everybody in Washington and say, hey, what's up? Well, this guy apparently had a bad habit of falling asleep at his console. And I don't mean like, he was just, head in his hand, just kind of zoning kind of thing. I mean like feet on the desk, lean back, snoring, asleep. And so Gene finally had nothing. And so I believe he said it was Apollo 8, first mission to go on the moon. So communication was spotty back then, to say the least. And on the backside of the moon, we had no communication, correct? Right. So they were on the backside, on the dark side of the moon, as it were. And so everything here was kind of calm. It was the middle of the night, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, just whatever, just kind of hanging out. And this guy falls asleep. So Gene's finally had enough. So he gets on his loops, calls every other console with the exception of that one, and says, hey, here's what we're going to do. We're going to have some fun with this guy. He goes, I'm tired of him falling asleep, whatever. So down here, remember the last one I talked about the rocket scientist sitting down in the front row, right? So this is the trench. This is where the rocket scientist sat down here. Fido sat right here. Flight dynamics. And so what they did was, Gene, got those. And you guys all know mission control. Very stoic, right? Very calm, very centered, very, we're not going to make a big deal, something terrible. So out of nowhere, Gene stands up and just slams his hands down on the console and goes, Fido, what's going on? Fido jumps up, says, we don't know, everybody just starts screaming. All of a sudden, all 4 corners of the room, just people are just yelling. Nobody knows what's going on. This guy's still asleep. And so everybody's just yelling, screaming, whatever. So finally, he realizes a kick on the console. Dude in the back wakes up, jumps up and sees everybody running around. This is Gene's ship. Why are they jumping? Something terrible was happening. So he's like, Gene, what happened? And Gene turns around and goes, where have you been for the last 5 minutes? And the guy's like, well, I was back here, but I was kind of asleep. I felt it, Gene's like, you know what? I don't have time for you right now. I'll get to you later. Then he turns around and says the thing that nobody ever wants to hear. He goes, Fido, where is the crew? Fido turns around, throws all these papers in the air, and goes, we don't know. So this guy hears it. He's like, oh crap, something terrible just happened. So he gets on his lovely rotary dial phone that you see, and starts calling everybody. I mean, he's waking up the administrator, he's waking up everybody in Washington. All he can tell him is, something went wrong, the crew's missing, and I don't know why because I was asleep. All he can tell him. So he's pulling his hair out. Gene just lets him linger for a couple minutes, just yelling back and forth. And finally, he's like, all right, everybody, calm down. He goes, everybody have a seat. He goes, we got 3 minutes till calm. He goes, ink off with those numbers. Sits back down, goes back. Whole place just gets quiet. It's calm. This dude's standing in the back has no idea what's going on. So finally, he's like, Gene, what happened? Gene turns around and just looks at him and goes, don't fall asleep again. And apparently, for 2 years after that, guy never fell asleep. I'm surprised he get this job. So those are the artifacts that are